Well, hello and welcome. Welcome to the internet. Welcome to my channel. It's me, Odio, and I'm back to do another review for you. Today, I'm going to do Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Let's get into it. I think it's going to be a good one. Woohoo! Alright! Mad Max Furiosa! Let me tell you, I love all the Mad Max movies. The first two with Mel Gibson, I like Fury Road. I really liked the robot arm that Furiosa had in that one, and I like Mad Max. So, this one's a bit different. It's just about Furiosa. They call it a Mad Max saga. I don't know why. Get his name off it. Just call it Furiosa. Maybe a story in the world of Mad Max or something like that. But I don't know. You don't really need his name in there. Because at first, when I saw it, I was like, oh, Mad Max. It's like, oh, it's just Furiosa. I'm like, oh, why do they have his name on it? At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to me as long as it's a great action movie. And yeah, let's get into this one because it kind of is. So we open up with, it's going to be a young Furiosa. Not Anya Taylor-Joy right out the gate. We get a little girl and we get kind of a backstory of the green place where she lives. And it's like the whole world is destroyed and like desolate. But we go on this one little green section and that's where she's from. You kind of get that. It is a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. So you're seeing a younger version of her. And remember, that's where she's trying to get back to in that movie. That's the whole point. She wants to get back to there. So you do kind of get to see it. You get to see her growing up as a little girl, the challenges they face. You get to see the community. You get to see her mom. Her mom was badass. Because when she gets taken at the beginning, her mom basically like hunts her down across the wasteland trying to save her. It's a really, really cool. You get some awesome action here. If you like the world of Mad Max, the world building done in the beginning of this movie is top notch. You're getting to see like where they are, why the world kind of is the way it is. You get some little flashback at the beginning to how the world fell, but you really feel like the community that Furiosa is part of is one of the last good communities. Because when you get over to the other place, like where Dr. Dementis is, that's when stuff really starts going. So she gets captured and taken away, and a whole thing happens. But long story short, she ends up with Dr. Dementis, who does something horrible to her mother, and she has to witness it.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
And then he ends up keeping her from a very little girl. And he's raising a very, very angry Furiosa.
Emotional, damn it!
And the whole movie, really, if you get into it, kind of like how Star Wars' Anakin's story. In the way of this is kind of Dr. Dementis' story. Chris Hemsworth's character is young, crazy, owns a bike gang, kills, murders, and kind of does whatever he wants. All over the place. And he takes her with him, so she's kind of seeing everything. He used to have a wife, some kids of his own. He carries a bear. It kind of symbolizes his loss. Maybe that's why he went so crazy and started killing people in the wasteland. Who knows? He's an interesting character, though. You get a lot of fun moments out of him. Until one day, after, all the killing, pillaging, and destroying things, he finally comes across someone he can't do that to. A Morton Joe. You remember him from Mad Max Fury Road. Well, he's up there, and he's at that place, the Citadel, and Dementis decides to attack it. Horrible failure, terrible idea, just everything goes wrong.
Damn!
But anyway, long story short, later on, he makes a deal with Dementis and Immortan Joe, and he gives her Furiosa, gives it over to Immortan Joe, and she's going to be one of the wives, one of the ones taking care of it, those chastity belts and stuff. It's wild. It's a wild world. But like I said, the world building is done really well. Nothing is rushed. Everything that happens feels very organic. They did a great job. Honestly, great. Really, really like this movie. If you like the other Mad Max movies, this one it's in the same vein. It's got the same sort of tone. So anyway, when she's there with her Morton Joe, she's living her, good life, is doing that. And then one day she decides she doesn't want any more of this life. She doesn't want to live like this under him. She wants to go home, I think, is what the real thing is. So you get Anya Taylor-Joy, all grown up. She looks great as Furiosa. I know people want Charlize Theron back, but I do think she's definitely too old to do the prequel. I don't think you can CGI that much. And Fury Road was 9 years ago, so it's a weird time to do a prequel to this. Usually you want to hit this in like a year or two after. But anyways, she escapes from him, and she tries to escape on one of the big convoys. One of the most successful convoy guys is Imperator Jack. And let me tell you about Imperator Jack. He's like a Han Solo style, rough and tough sort of character. He's got his own crew, and he's successful, but he lives gritty, and he lives a life of a lone star. It's good. He's a really interesting character. I love seeing him and his crew. And then Anya Taylor, she's trying to escape on his truck. And I gotta say, in the middle of the movie, wow, we get one of the best chase scenes in anything. Like, it's a great moving set piece action. You've got the Immortan Joe, and you basically their convoy is trying to go to, there's Bullet Town, Gas Town, and the Citadel, and they pretty much give Dementis one of them. He wants to take over it all. But long story short, he's just a convoy deliverer, so he's trying to get the convoy through to Bullet Town or whatever, and they get attacked by a bunch of Dr. Dementis people who have cut off, and it's awesome. They are like shooting up in gliders, throwing down exploding spears. There's gunplay. There's people getting kicked off things. You get those crazy guys who like spray themselves in the mouth, like, awesome. The action is great. Anya Taylor-Joy is amazing as an action star. She might have a future with this. Her character barely speaks. I mean, she's not mute, but it's almost like watching like Conan or like one of the old Arnold movies. She doesn't talk a whole lot, doesn't need to. Conveys everything super clearly. And I guess her character is used to not talking. She refuses to talk to Dementis when she's young because, I mean, he did all those horrible, he murdered her mother basically, and she had to watch, so she doesn't talk to him, doesn't like Immortan Joe, doesn't really talk to him, but she does kind of like Jack. She talks a few words to him here and there, and you can tell that they build a really great relationship. After that initial chase scene and the great action and everything, he has to kind of rebuild his crew, and he starts with her. And from that point on, the movie is really good. Like, it just nails everything. You get a lot of good action. You get this sort of, not a buddy cop, but a team up. Her and him team up. Even when they go back to Immortan Joe, it's like he doesn't know who she is. She has her head shaved, has the black thing across her eyes. Awesome. Just great. And you get a lot of adventures with them going around. It is a pretty long movie. It's about 2.5 hours, so I know it seems like I'm rambling, but they do some stuff together. Honestly, it's all good. I really liked Anya. She nails it. I really liked Imperator Jack. He nails the role too. And everyone is playing their part perfectly. Everyone's buying into the world. All the characters seem like how they would act in that world. And of course, Hemsworth ain't done yet. Old Dr. Dementis, he's up to a whole lot of tricks and trouble, causing problems. They give him one town to kind of watch over, but he's a terrible leader, kind of destroys everything. Basically, everything he tries to lead over just gets ruined. So later on, we get a really cool moment where Anya and Imperator Jack, they have to go drop off some stuff, and Dr. Dementis captures him. You get a whole really cool scene with it. And then you really get the final form of Furiosa. She, I don't want to spoil her how it happens, but you're going to see her get that robot arm. She doesn't start with it. She pays a high price to get it. Just a lot of loss for her in this movie between her mother and then, Jack and her arm and her freedom. Like, it's a lot of loss for her. She fights back hard. She's awesome. She's gritty. She's strong, and she can handle it. And she can handle herself in any situation. She's good with guns, good with trucks. She knows her way around. It's like she's a joy to watch on the screen. So overall, it's a lot of fun. Honestly, almost the whole movie is a lot of fun. But I do kind of got to get to the one last point. I'm not going to spoiler it, but I got to say the ending, a little bit of a letdown.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
They kind of had all the set pieces set up, and I thought there was going to be one just giganto action scene at the end, and we were going to see an all-out war. You don't really get that. I don't want to ruin it. You do get a satisfying ending. But like I said, it's kind of like a Dr. Dementis story. So by the end of it, you get to see where he ends up, how his story ends, and where it all goes. But I really wanted to see the all-out war between Immortan Joe and Dr. Dementis, and I wanted Furiosa to be a big part of it. You get a lot of action in this. I don't want to complain, but the ending was, I found, it was just a little bit dragged out. It's about a 2 hour and 20 minute movie. An action movie, it is an action movie, but they do a lot of world building and stuff. It doesn't feel super long, but you probably could have trimmed a bit of it. Especially at the end, it did kind of drag for me at the end. I wanted a big, I'm kind of cheap. I wanted a big old explosion action, and then everyone rides off into the sunset. You don't really get that, but we know Furiosa's going to be, we know from Mad Max Fury Road that she's not going to be the one that dies. So you do get a nice ending to the story, and the whole thing closes up a nice loop. So if you wanted to go forward with more of her adventures, you totally could. I'd recommend go past Mad Max Fury Road next time, but overall, this is a great action movie. We don't get a lot of great action movies every year, but this is definitely one of them. I love Mad Max, love the world. Furiosa nails it. They nail the feel, they nail the action. She really embodies a survivor in that old wasteland, and you really get the fact that she has to learn her skills and earn everything as she goes, and she suffers a lot of loss, but in the end, she comes out stronger. It's great. It's one of those movies that by the end of it, you're really cheering for her. You want her to get revenge. You want her to win. in, and the villains are just plain villains. You don't want anything good to happen to them. It's great. Overall, I highly recommend this. I watched it when it came out on VOD. I know I'm a bit late to the party, but like I said, I didn't know if it was going to be good or not, and it is awesome. If you're looking for a good movie, a good action movie to watch on the weekend, or just hanging out for a good time, this is a winner. You're going to love every minute of it. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and it's an easy recommend. Honestly, if you've watched this far, really appreciate that. Thanks so much. Please like, share, and subscribe to the video. Let me know how you feel about Furiosa in the comments, and remember, everybody, stay out of trouble.